Hi there. Welcome to the astrology for the week of June 14th to the 21st, and it's a week filled with inspiration, meaningful recognition, and a shift we've been waiting for. So join us as we check our sky notes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sky Notes. Hi, Lillian. How are you doing?
Hey, Tracy, I'm doing great. We're going to talk about the third week in June of 2026, and those dates are from the 14th to the 20th.
Perfect. And it opens with a bang, right? We
really
open with a
does.
bang. Yeah. So what do we start with? There's a strong story arc this week.
Yeah,
So we start out with a new moon on the 14th, on the Sunday.
that's right.
And it is at 24 degrees and 3 minutes of Gemini. And so that marks an interesting beginning within an ending. Because
Right.
we're coming to the end of a season. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's kind of that's always an interesting conflict in terms of the dynamic when we've got, something feels like it's opening and yet the biggest part of the story is actually we're ending some stuff.
That's right.
So if you're feeling before we look at the chart, if you're feeling new moon energy to get something started, just make the plan.
Oh, yeah.
With a new moon, and then let it sit until we've wrapped some stuff up and then return to it when the energy is better. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when we were in our planning session, I was thinking about Melanie Reinhardt and how she does that beautiful description of the new moon is dark. It is dark for a period of time before you start to see the light. And so let that roll out for longer than you think. And it'll be a different process as we go along.
Yeah, for sure. And I like when we look at those descriptions of the moon phases and then apply them to the natal chart, because one of the things that can get forgotten about those people who are born in those dark moon phases is that's a highly intuitive time. So when we're living through it, using your intuition, totally helpful.
Yeah.
The energy is right for strong intuitive impressions. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about different periods through June where there'll be an emotional component to how you're experiencing new information. And this is an intuitive component. And there's a take action component. So I like the sort of through line that's developing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been talking about what the moon, right. Such a wild arc. So this week we have a similar thing to last week where the moon starts out in Gemini, it moves into Cancer and then Leo, but we end in Virgo. So we again come into getting a bit of grounding with that moon, because I think we mentioned in our discussion of the month in general that because we're lacking Earth, right, that and on top of that, so many things are being ruled by the moon,
right?
There's extra help at those times when the moon is going through Earth signs. So this is 2 weekends in a row where we get that grounding, thank goodness, and perspective. I find that when we go through the moon in an Earth sign and we use it for grounding, it helps us with perspective.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the need for grounding. So we talk about the shift of outer planets into air and fire. And so those are buoyant, not tethered to the ground, not needing reality to check it. So there's two different ways we're experiencing this sort of beyond reality information that then we have to figure out how to express if it's relevant to us, right? Or if we're witnessing it, it helps us to have context for that. So yeah, the grounding for this year in particular has to be conscious. If you need to go put your feet in water, it's going to be 90 degrees here, 90% humidity. So, maybe you want to be cool when you're out there, but get your feet in the soil, whatever it is that helps you, feel grounded. Let that be the thing that carries you through.
Yeah. And it could be as simple if you're able to sit on the ground or on a flat surface, making sure that the sit bones are squarely there on the ground, making contact so that root chakra is actually making contact. I think that's really helpful too.
Because it's a new cycle within all of you can begin this work. You can begin a process, right? Of like aligning with your root chakra.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. The thing that I found really interesting getting cranial sacral therapy work, because she's often creating balance in the body, right? And so what's interesting is that when that's out of line, everything is off, right? So trying to make decisions, trying to get organized, trying to do anything for me, it creates a lot of stress.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's like I get balanced and I get grounded and it's like, oh, okay, it's a lot easier to do anything from here than it was from there.
So smart. That's so smart.
It's really helpful.
Yeah.
So do we want to look at the new moon chart?
Oh, I'd love that.
Excellent. There it is. And so this is from, did I put it from Ottawa? I did. So it's from Ottawa, my country, your time zone. Excellent.
Elegant compromise.
I think so too. And there, so in this chart, the sun and the moon are in the 5th house in Gemini. That's fun. So speaks to the creativity we keep bringing up with the Venus there in Leo.
And to the don't necessarily share it yet notion.
Yes.
Because it's all under the horizon.
That's
so
right.
Let yourself have that privacy. And then look at the party in the 7th house. My goodness.
Yeah, for sure. What's interesting about that 7th house, this is set in Placidus. So we do have the interceptions in there. The stuff that is above the horizon, Venus is intercepted. So there's lots of that beautiful Venus in Leo energy, but nowhere to put it yet. So that is another layer.
Wow.
It's not time.
Right.
It's time to troubleshoot. It's time to plan, shape. And Jupiter just peeking up over the horizon. It's like can start to sort of put feelers out for if what you're going to do can grow.
I love that. And so the Venus, when I think of it passing that Jupiter and again, receiving all that information, all that beneficent Jupiter, I think of it refining it again. And I think of that theme with Leo, where on a personal level, it will benefit you to go through life where people love you for your mistakes and your awesome stuff. And for Venus and Leo, it is critically important to be accepted on that level because there is nothing like a well-fed Venus and Leo. I mean, it behooves us to get y'all in position.
Well, and I also want to add to that, that this is the beginning of the Venus and Jupiter cycle for the next year, right? Venus is in that new moon new phase with Jupiter.
Right. That's right.
And so that just adds another depth of layer to what we've already been saying, where you're in a planning, you're in a seed planting, any of your Venus projects, it's time to play. It's the play phase.
I love that.
And experiment phase of what you want to do with that Venus. So it's quite lovely. And it's spoken for in an interesting way in this chart where they're placed with the Venus and the intercepted in the 7th and Jupiter just peeking up over the horizon.
Right.
I like it. What are the other things that jumped out of us in here? There's a nice Mercury-Mars sextile. So that is an opportunity. I feel like with these planets in Cancer, there is some kind of message here about what from the past you want to bring forward and what from the past are you ready to just go, we're done. We don't need to do this anymore.
Right. Yeah. Right. If there's ease around letting something go, trust it.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially Mercury and Cancer. I would say look to wherever Mercury is involved in your chart. The Gemini Virgo houses or wherever Mercury is in your chart will give you a lot more breakdown. This feels really personal.
And I know I've been saying it in other videos as it's easier when you're talking about that acceptance of everything, when you're not talking about somebody who's a leader right? And yet Leo is the patriarch, the matriarch, the leader. And so the goal is to get the flow through of the clear information, right? And we are grappling with all kinds of ideas about what constitutes leadership. Is it enough that it's power? Is it enough that you can break things on the way to figuring other things out? I do love the almost a nascent quality to this. It's early. We're seeing it early.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And then on top of that, we also see the Venus is moving into a sextile with Uranus as well in this chart. So we're talking about these as transits, but if they're already in the new moon chart, they're kind of nailed in for a minute.
Yeah,
that's right. So there's just another message to, what's the word that I want? Embrace your freak flag, as we were talking about, right? Because there's a real individuality with Venus and Leo, and what's your signature, what's your thing that you're putting out in the world, and that's doubled and tripled with the Uranus in Gemini. So there's an opportunity there. Not everybody's going to take it, but if you are doing Venus work right now,
and it's not relevant for everyone, but it's there. It's going to keep peeking out, and it's not to aggravate anyone. We're getting information.
That's right. Absolutely. For sure. And then we actually, to what we spoke about last week with Uranus square the notes, it's separating, but it's nailed into this new moon chart. So there's whatever that stirred up, right? When the square perfected, there's some carryover in here.
We'll need to wait a little while. To sift back down, get clarity.
There's more work to do. So we'll see what that looks like. Absolutely. And then we also see the Venus has moved, like I'm going to say that is close. That's an opposition. It's a bit wide yet, but it's going to perfect in a few days. So so that's relevant as well.
Yeah.
So getting honest about what you value and how you value yourself.
It's so, I always feel really tender around the Aquarius and the Leo opposition, because the Aquarius piece, I think of it along with Capricorn as, when somebody's starving for something, you can't give them a full steak dinner. You got to start with like water, something really simple, mashed banana, something.
Yeah.
They are like that with emotion. They don't need you to flood them with random thoughts or random tasks. And yet, look at that, frickin' Venus and Leo, not random at all, just very specific, but it's going to come off sounding unique and not in compliance, and maybe not fitting with tradition, and maybe not leveraging the skills of the ancestors. And so there's this real vulnerability around, like, do I get to be my thing or do my thing? Do I get to express who I am? Potentially. And then there's also like the feeling of being threatened by that, right?
Right. I also find it interesting that, so they're actually moving towards each other because Pluto is retrograde, right? And there is an intensity when you have the each of them moving towards the aspect, which I find worth mentioning, because there's something in this that there's a phrase that keeps coming into my head, but something about truth to power when it comes to women's issues and the Pluto side of things. So I feel like that there's something in here that we're going to see manifest over the next 28 days.
I like
about that whole truth to power thing in women's rights and women's issues. So that was one of the things that popped up for me.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see what happens.
So Ceres is not in that chart, but Ceres moved into Gemini. So that's another one of those like female empowerment, having to speak to our own personal power, and it coming through that same wave of from Taurus to Gemini. So we're learning how to articulate it.
Right. And well, and also the information always becomes much more available, right? So when we're talking about, series and women and all the themes there's available information when those things come into Gemini so that it can be shared,
Exactly.
So that I feel is something that we're going to see. Anyways.
Right.
But you're right. There's another layer of Gemini that was not added to that chart.
And Gemini and femininity, which is, some people could mistake the femininity for the freak flag. And I think that's part of the problem we're having, right? Is that we're not letting enough space for us to breathe as a species for these things to manifest so that we can move on and work together. That's the first day done. Check.
Yes. But as we've said, new moons last longer. So they take a little bit more time to talk about. And then, so we already spoke about the Venus and Uranus, and that perfects on the Monday, right? Once the new moon event is passed, we're into the next day. And the first thing that happens is Venus perfects that aspect to Uranus.
Right.
And then, and some of the themes that I count, a story about valuing independence and uniqueness, disruptive art with that combination, and fashion anarchy is one of the things that kind of came to my brain, and I thought that would be kind of fun to see. I do feel like we're at a very weird time in fashion where when I watch stuff set in the 90s or done in the 90s, it looks the same.
Oh, interesting.
Because the fashion is so similar. Wow. It's really, there have been moments where I'm just like, I would never have guessed this was old.
Right.
That's been kind of interesting. Yeah. Especially when we're talking about the Venus and Leo and the relationship with Uranus.
Oh, absolutely.
So maybe we'll see something shift dramatically.
Well, I mean, we've got the makings. That's
for sure. We do for sure.
Yeah.
And then what's the next? We've got something on the 16th. What's happening on the 16th?
Well, we've got the Venus in conjunct, I say the nodes or the north. Right. And so there's a sense that there's a way that it's going to be shown a disconnect. And then, of course, there's a trine with Venus and Neptune. And when we talk about Neptune, we talk about idealism and fantasy and the difference between illusion and delusion, where we're tricking ourselves, and erosion as a thing that reveals.
Ooh, I love that. That's excellent. Yes. Whenever I think about Venus and Neptune, trine Neptune specifically.
Right.
Because that is a really different energy, a trine, right? It's easy to slip into whatever that thing is, right? It's just really easy to get into the flow of that energy. And I mean, it's a beautiful aspect in a natal chart for somebody who's creative, who's an artist, who's, because that Neptune allows the creativity and everything to be so much more beyond our earthly experience.
Right.
Right. And so it does really elevate Venus in a beautiful way. Musicians who have it, writers who have it, artists, that they can create really incredible things.
Exactly.
With the trine on if there's difficulty with it, it's easy to slip into things like anything to escape.
Right.
Neptune to me is it's an escape hatch.
Correct.
And it's easy with a trine to go and I'm just going to get drunk. I'm just going to get high. I'm just going to go and hide. I'm just going to go binge something, whatever the binge is for a person as an individual.
Right.
So it's an interesting energy to try to navigate. And so if you're somebody who can easily slip into, there, she's gone, she's back, she's gone, she's back. If you're somebody who can easily slip into escapist behaviors, just grounding, pay attention, stay grounded.
Also, like give yourself some credit. You can write down what the fantasy is.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd like to go, bathe in chocolate, or I'd like to go have brunch at my favorite hotel. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging it, and it could have information that you find out later is relevant to you. But if you take it as a sign, symbol, diagnostic opportunity instead of a commandment, no, you're not getting a sign from God that it's time for you to escape. No, that is not what's happening. If you need to rest, yes, go rest. Have great dreams. But yeah, it's interesting, that finding the way to go through that kind of combination.
Right. Yes. And this isn't a don't do it.
No.
It's just realize that it be really easy to slip into past behaviors, especially with everything that we've talked about with all the Cancer energy.
Right.
So just something to stay aware of for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But great day to do creative stuff. 100%.
Yeah.
Like there's really beautiful creative energy on the 16th. Yeah. I'm going to actually save that for something that I have to do that's super creative.
I like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. And then what other things did I write? Right, because then the very next day.
Well, and you were saying creative. This might be when you go break things.
Yeah. So do you want to name it?
Yeah, it's Venus opposite Pluto by transit.
Alluded to already in the New Moon chart, right? But this is the reality check. But not just like Saturn is a reality check around what's possible, right? What are my earthly limitations to do this thing? Pluto is going down to the deep depths of things that have been buried and hidden and, put where they don't want to be looked at, and takes it all out for you to look at and say, okay, you sure you want to still want to carry all of this stuff around your values and around your self-worth and around all of these things, right? I went through this natally not that long ago, and it was, I'm going to be honest, it was weird more than it was difficult.
There you go.
Yeah, it was definitely more like, I didn't even know that was important to me anymore, or that was even in there anymore. So, it definitely was a reality check in what's important and what do I need to hold on to. So I would say that'll be, if anybody comes up to that and it has to face that energy, it's just a moment of truth.
Yeah. And so that's where the admonition to not try to escape is especially important for the day ahead of time, because you will not get out of it. No. If you try to escape, you're going to run right into the prison.
Right. Well, and Pluto, would you say Pluto holds some consequences to it as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, you have this beautiful escapism Neptune for the first day, and then the very next day it's like, okay, but oops.
Yeah.
here's your consequences of whatever that was, and it doesn't have to be difficult consequences. Mm-hmm. It could actually be quite positive, but bigger than you had expected, because it's
exactly.
Yeah, for sure. And then so I had made this note about we have this story starting with valuing ourselves and our independence and our uniqueness, and then we have all of a sudden we get into more of what's the glamorous part of us. How do we want to express that individualism? How do we want to, is there a mask that we're wearing that serves a function, but does it need to be updated? Does it need to be changed? And then the very next day we move into, do you still value the same things? And does that match what you're putting forward?
Right.
And do you still want what you've been going after? Mm-hmm. Or is it attached to an old value system?
Right.
Yeah. So there's this interesting arc that we get. And because it's all in that new moon chart, these are just the dates where they perfect. We're getting a bit of a longer arc of that story.
I agree. Yeah. So sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's difficult, but one should know it's not a judgment.
No, definitely not. I mean, the thing that's really interesting about the astrology is that so much, I mean, it's always within context of our own experiences and natal chart for sure. But these things are quite subjective, these particular aspects and these particular signs.
Right.
So it adds another layer of that. It almost intensifies the subjectivity that we would normally kind of throw at people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting.
Mm-hmm. And then we have a big shift on Friday. So what do you want to talk a little bit about that one?
I do. So Chiron's moving out of Aries finally. So yay for all the folks with Chiron and Aries getting a break. And oh boy, for folks who have strong Taurus energy, because it will be a surfacing of vulnerability, right? And the things that make you feel vulnerable. So we just moved out of this one where folks who have that natally really are challenged, like, who are they? And do they get to be who they are? And, you know, is what they're expressing who they are? Is it still relevant? That kind of thing. And then we're going to shift into that vibe for the Taurus folks, but also on a more collective level, are we going to focus on the earth, our alignment with the earth? Are we going to focus on leveraging the richness of the world for each other versus grabbing it all for ourselves and running around on it like Smog, the dragon? So it's an interesting shift. And that's our 7-year cycle? No, Chiron's more like Saturn, right? 2 years.
Well, Chiron is very variable because it's like twice as long in Aries than it would be in Cancer. Twice as long.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's so the ellipses is so dramatic.
So we all get affected by it because there are more planets going through Aries and they pick up that energy and on and on and on. So I think it's a big deal that it comes into Taurus because it's a more protective energy. It's a more, it really depends on where it is in your chart. But I think universally it's a call to embrace the earth. So,
well, yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And to what we've said about Uranus. So Uranus spent 8.5 years in Taurus before it hit Gemini. And so many things about Taurus themes, especially resources, the earth, the planet, all of those things. There's so much disruption around that, and it created a divide.
Yes.
And so the cosmic beauty of having Chiron then move into Taurus as the healer.
Yes.
Is, you know, okay, so this is how we can heal this.
Absolutely.
You know, and Chiron and Aries is, we really saw that individualized mentality.
Where the wounds are around
Yes. And it's like they all got unmasked. This is what happens, right?
Yeah. And I definitely want to say, when we talk about healing, we're talking about resonating a sense of resolved and healthy energy that allows our clients to heal themselves. We're not talking about, special magic.
Yeah. Well, and healing can just mean so many different things. Like sometimes healing is just acknowledgement. Sometimes, like it's just that, it's a very broad term for sure.
Yeah.
But because Chiron is the wounded healer, that is his
100%. And it is a subtle shift because that is still the work that a lot of people engage in. But the work is to help folks align rather than to be a magic that they can consume and be healed by.
Right? Yes. It's interesting when we think about the themes of the last, 5 years or however long it's been in Aries, I can't remember. Think about toxic narcissism, major theme.
Yeah.
Forced loneliness.
Yeah.
Self-imposed. All of these themes, those are all Chiron and Aries themes, right? If you think of all those buzzwords from the last whatever years, those have all come out of Chiron and Aries. And also the almost empowerment, I don't know, around the who are we? Gen X.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of the things, the qualities that have been put on that generation or describe that generation are also very Chiron and Aries. I just read a thread this week, some woman who was, I believe a young millennial, like on the younger end of millennials, had put a thread out about, hey, Gen Xers, how are you okay? And I read this story. She had read this story about, a kid growing up who was Gen X. And like, she's like, so, like I read this story and I'm horrified about this kid's childhood, but I have heard this is pretty common. And why do you grew up like this? And a call out for people to, chime in. And by the end of, 300 people had already told their childhood story.
Wow.
She's like, so what I'm getting is you were completely unsupervised. You had to learn how to cook by the time you were 5. Like, there's just this whole long list of basically taking care of yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just thought, yeah, that is 100%. That is Chiron and Aries territory.
That is so wild.
So
yeah, so with that in mind, some of the things we could see are woundings around resources.
Yes.
Woundings around belonging, woundings around feeling welcome, that kind of thing.
Yes. And I feel like when we talk about, you often hear us talk about grounding because it is important for our nervous systems and our well-being.
Yes.
I feel like with Chiron and Taurus, there might be a fear around trying to, get grounded, because if Taurus or if Chiron is there sitting in Taurus, sort of just stewing in things, people might want to avoid anything that feels like grounding.
Isn't that interesting?
Chiron is inhabiting that space. So it will be interesting to see what this looks like on the other side for people.
Well, and I like that because it reminds me of the Taurus qualities, right? Like I generally think of Taurus as pre-verbal into music, right? Very natural, very, in its natural state, benefiting from that. So I like that nuance that if you're feeling that tension, it could be the Chiron that's doing it, trying to surface something for you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Chiron is potent stuff. And I would highly recommend that everybody go and look and see where that Taurus energy is going to be in your chart.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's in my first and second house. So it literally is resources for me in my chart. Yeah. And so it's interesting to feel those transits.
It's on my descendant. So it's the sign on my descendant. So it's on the cusp of the 7th house. So it's relationships. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Beautiful. The beautiful thing about Chiron energy is if you work with it, the healing, it's almost like it's magnified.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it trickles out, right? It's got that generational quality to it where
goes back, goes to side. I love that. Yeah.
Heal or heal thyself, right? Is literally like Chiron.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So I think there's some real beauty in that shift. So it's only there until September 18th. It'll pop back into Aries, where we're not fully Chiron and Taurus until next year.
But that's a chunk right there.
We get a preview. The thing I love about, we don't get that with Jupiter. Jupiter's just going straight into Leo when it goes. Right. That when what we've seen with all the outers changing signs in the last year and a half, we've gotten these preview moments.
Yeah.
And we get that with Chiron too. So I think it lets us ease into the different, back to what we talked to in the last episode.
Yeah.
That shift from one sign to the next can be really jarring.
Yeah.
Worse with, or more intense with some signs than others. So Aries, Pisces to Aries and Aries to Taurus is shocking to me. Like just the difference in that energy. Hey,
absolutely. No question.
Yeah.
And there, it looks like we conclude the week with Uranus. Square the nodes. There it is. Perfecting that we already.
Yeah. So we're still on the hangover from that. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Cause that drags for, I think in total, like if we're just looking at it staying partile, it's almost 2 weeks of staying.
Yeah. That's wild. That is absolutely.
Yeah. So lots of disruption for everybody. So I feel like a lot of the astrology this whole month, there's unearthing.
Yes.
We're unearthing a lot of stuff.
There's nothing shallow going on this month, it feels like. So, and then we have just a wild week next week. Like,
yes. Yeah. So next week we'll talk about the astrology ahead, and it starts with a It starts with a bang. It starts with the
Yeah.
solstice. So yeah, so we've got a solstice episode next week to talk about that week, and we'll see you. We'll see you there. Thanks so much,
Yeah,
Lillian.
sounds great. Yeah, thank you, Tracy,
All
and
right.
thanks to you all for joining us.
All right. We'll see you next week.